At the start of the pandemic, I'd been living on the island about a year. Myself and my two kids, both my kids are autistic, and my animals. I'm a single parent, so life can be quite lonely when you're bringing up kids anyway. During the pandemic, when lockdown came into force, initially it was everybody needs to wear a mask. And I have asthma and I have anxiety and I couldn't possibly wear a mask because every time I put one on I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I wasn't going to risk an asthma attack, which potentially could be fatal because somebody or the government were telling me to wear a mask that wasn't actually mandatory anyway. It was a request, can you wear a mask? We advise you to wear a mask, but obviously, you know, if you have certain health conditions, you don't need to do that. So I followed the advice, I didn't go against the advice, and I didn't wear a mask. For the first, I would say 6 months, I was shielding because I've got asthma. So a lot of the help in the community came in the form of neighbours, like my neighbour was going to the shop and doing doorstep drops. The council were fantastic, they were helping everybody with doorstep drops, even, and not just people that were shielding, but families on the island. If you had kids, they were dropping off bags of food every week, which was great. But there was the other side of that when you ventured outside and people seen you maskless. It wasn't great, you know, there was a lot of discrimination and a lot of nudging people and looking at them and then directly being confronted on numerous occasions. Why do you not have a mask on? You're supposed to wear a mask. And I would just say I'm exempt. And then they would say, but you've not got a lanyard on. And I would repeat that, you know, I shouldn't have to identify myself. I'm not legally required to do that. It's a courtesy, and I don't feel I should have to identify that I have a medical condition to the world. And you would then, you know, have further questions of, well, how are people supposed to know if you're exempt? And you could just be saying that. Some people were great, like staff in the local shops and stuff. They never once was a question by anybody who worked in a shop. It was always other customers. Or you would be in the queue and they would be shouting at you. I was in the big co-op one day and I had a man shouting at me that he was half Jewish and you know, people had died for the freedoms that we've all got now, and I was a disgrace for not wearing a mask. And when I asked him what the Holocaust had to do with the pandemic, he just got really angry and started shouting that was inconsiderate and selfish. I left the co-op in tears. Also, my mum had only just passed away a couple of months at the start of the pandemic, so it was quite a difficult time. And then during lockdown, schools were closed, kids were at home. As you can imagine, trying to homeschool two autistic children, it's no easy. Kids were getting stressed out. It was the kids that were feeling it, and most people in the village will tell you that the kids suffered more than the adults because, you know, we were quite lucky in a sense. We had our phones, we could communicate via Facebook Messenger. There was always somebody at the end of the phone that we could pick up the phone and, you know, have a moan to or a chat to or a laugh with. But kids never actually, they didn't have that. They were completely segregated for their peers, especially kids that are on the quieter end of the island, like the smaller villages in Purnmill. There's only maybe like 2 or 3 kids in the village. And they didn't have, you know, these kids in the tiny villages, that's their social life, getting on the bus in the morning and coming to school. That's how they interact with their peers, and for over a year they weren't able to do that. The schools were great at supporting people through home education and stuff like that, and they were really, certainly here anyway, they were of the opinion of don't stress the kids out. If they don't want to do the work, then leave it, which was great. But we're now seeing the flip side of that, where kids are now struggling in school. They've lost so much work that trying to get back to, if they had been at school, they would have been so much more advanced than what they are now. And a lot of the kids are now having, and parents as well, the anxiety that the parents are having over like exams coming up, and oh my god, the kids lost so much school. Can we get them through the exams? Some parents would like to hold their kids back a year or two. It was quite traumatic for the kids, to be quite honest with you, and it was traumatic for the adults as well. We were all segregated. We were all told that you can, don't speak to your neighbour, don't go into your neighbour's garden, don't socialise, you stay 6 feet away from people. The mainstream media didn't help, because they were constantly on the news 24/7 telling you about this deadly virus that would kill you. So understandably there was a lot of anxiety and fear over, oh my god, what if I get this COVID and something bad happens. It was bad enough that we were all kind of locked in our houses for a year, and months at a time. The elderly folk that because families couldn't visit them, so everybody in the local villages were trying to make sure that the elderly folk were looked after. There was posts going on Facebook, can people check on Granny, or my mum's old, can somebody pop up and see she's alright. So as well as trying to adhere to the rules, everybody was trying to stick to the rules, but make sure that other people were being looked after. It was a really difficult time. It was confusion, it was riddled with anxiety. So many people suffered depression. And then when the vaccine came out, that was a bit of a flipped. It was a bit of a mixed message, because some people were jumping up and down and thinking, oh my god, this is great, we've got this cure. And other people were people that were a bit more critical thinking were sitting back and thinking, right, let's see how this works out, because yes, we are terrified of catching COVID, but some people were absolutely terrified of putting this vaccine in their bodies. I don't think anybody's got the right to go questioning people on why they don't want to do something. However, when you live in a small community like this, it is like a fishbowl, and it is like, and the great charm about living in the country or on an island or anything like that is that it's like gone back 50 years. People don't shut their doors. I don't lock my car on the island. It's sitting in the car park, they're now unlocked. If my kids go out and I don't see them for 5 hours, it's fine, because I know that if I put a post on Facebook, I'll have 25 people that will have seen them in the last 15 minutes. Whereas kids can't do that in the mainland. And here was the last place that I would have expected to have been verbally attacked and discriminated against for choosing not to do something. I was expecting the initial disapproval to come from the GP, when they were phoning you up to give you your appointment. Hi, we're here to book you in for your vaccine. And I just said, I'm not having the vaccine. And straight away the receptionist was like, no problem, Angie, that's fine. There was no, and I was expecting to have a bit of a tug with the NHS, and they were just like, that's cool. But in the local community, every time you popped your head out the door, you had somebody saying, oh, just been, have you had your vaccine? And when if you say, oh, I'd rather not answer that, they instantly assume that you're not answering it because you've not had it. And if you say, oh, I'm not getting the vaccine at this time, then the looks that you were completely ostracised, to be quite frank. Like, there's people now that don't speak to me because I'm no vax. And when you try and explain, look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I am not running around in a tinfoil hat, I don't think the government is trying to kill me. I've just chosen not to have this vaccine because I don't have the data, I don't have the statistics, it's not been tested. I have asthma and I had a blood clot in the brain several years ago. So I'm not going to put something into my body where the news quite quickly were picking up on the fact that some people had problems with blood clots after getting the vaccine. And as soon as that was mentioned, my initial response was, well, if that's happening to folk, I'm not going to have this vaccine until there's more information on it, really. So it's not that I was completely against it, I just wanted to sit back and wait for more information. And when you say that to people that either accuse you of using them as guinea pigs, using them as a shield, or just being selfish and inconsiderate, and if they've had to go and roll their sleeve up to protect people, then it was almost like a martyrdom, you know, they'd martyred themselves. We've gone and, if I've gone and get this vaccine to protect you, why can't you get it to protect me? And you point out that, well, if you're vaccinated, whether I've got it or not really doesn't have any bearing on your health and well-being. If you were handing over money in the shop and you would hear people in the queue saying, oh my God, she's public money. It's money, it's legal tender, I can still use cash. And particularly here where the community is an older generation. It was like the older people that were kind of leading the charge for the vaccine, and if you weren't vaccinated and you weren't masking up, then you were just a terrible person. So you kind of withdrew, and you kind of withdrew for the community and stuck to people of the same mindset as yourself, because there wasn't any judgment or anything like that. And I've spoken to people that have no had the vaccine because they do think the government's trying to kill them, and I've spoken to people that have no had the vaccine just because they don't believe in putting, you know, anything into their body, and they try and live a clean life. And I've spoken to people that have got health concerns and decided not to have the vaccine, and that's all fine. And I have never once been discriminated against or been verbally abused by somebody that has chosen not to have the vaccine. But I have been bullied. People have tried to manipulate me. I have been called selfish, rude, ignorant, uneducated, and that's just a few names. And every time it's been from people that have been vaccinated. And I don't think it's fair that this one group of people feel that they have the right to force their opinions, thoughts and wants on other people. It was a lonely time for everybody.